Now, more and more of Nigeria's children are either out of school or receiving substandard education, according to data released by the United Nations. And like this country's population, that number is growing all the time. The latest figures are alarming. They suggest that Nigeria has gone from having 10 million children out of school a decade ago to more than 18 million today, with girls, street children, and nomadic groups the most affected. Those who are in school have poor infrastructure, inadequate classrooms, not enough teaching aids like computers, laboratories and libraries, and poor quality teachers. All this is having a punishing impact on the growth and development of every sector in Nigeria, from the economy to politics to security. So what's the way out? Well, the Tinubu administration says it's moved the issue to the front burner, and that it'll prevail over the bad hand that previous governments have dealt it in the education sector. But beyond acknowledging the seriousness of the problem and the shame of Nigeria having the largest number of children in the world who are not being educated, how big a push has there been in the 2 years that the administration has been in office? Well, for his midterm review of Nigeria's education sector, I'm joined now in the studio by the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa. Great to see you.
Thank you. Nice being here, Charles. Thank you.
In this country, every child has the constitutional right to free primary and secondary education, but there is a huge gap between that constitutional right and what they actually get. 18 million children out of school, that's roughly 1/3 of this country's school-age population. That's scary, isn't it?
Thank you. That's scary, but beyond being constitutional right for every child in Nigeria to get education, it's also fundamental human right. And that's what this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has vowed to protect and defend. The President has done so much in ensuring that every single child in this country gets a high-quality education. And that's why, if you look at this 2025 budget, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has committed the highest amount of money to the education sector. And that's because of his fervent and benevolent belief in human capital development. And when we talk about human capital development, what are we talking about? We're talking education is the center of it all, healthcare sector and social protection. This is the first time we have the highest political will to ensure that every single child in this country gets the highest quality of education. This is the President's commitment to the people, to the citizens of Nigeria, and this is the mandate that he has given me and my colleague at the Federal Ministry of Education, Professor Suwaibat Ahmad. Now, before we go to what we've done a lot in this last 7 months.
And I don't mean to interrupt you.
And let me give you some data.
There, let's assess the problem
that's
first,
what I want to do.
Because for those who are in school, the quality of learning is pretty bad, isn't it? I mean, classrooms are overcrowded, the facilities are poor, and so many people who educate them, including youth corps members, have no training to do so at all. So the future of these children and of this country are being thrown into question every single day.
Not under the watch of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Just give me 1 minute. Let me give you the data of where we're from and what we're doing and the kind of results we're seeing. We're seeing early good results now because of concerted focus and directional actions that we've taken. Now, we have a unique demography, 220 million Nigerians. Of those 220 million Nigerians, 70% below the age of 30 years. And if you analyze it, if you break down the data further, 43% below the age of 15 years. Now, today, we actually, whatever you say, second or first, it's bad position. We have the unenviable position today of having the second highest number of out-of-school children. 45 million Nigerians were learning poor before we got there, and at least not in the last 10 months. Things have gotten better. of this, and when I say learning poor, they have, at the age of 10 years old, they can read inappropriate tests.
Indeed.
Indeed. And of those, 15 million people are out of school and are majority, depending on the data you're looking at. It's some people say 18 million, some people say 15 million, and some people say 13 million. But we're working with 15 million. But now I can tell you, we're not at 15 million now. Things have gotten better. But then...
So where are we now?
I can't tell you where we are now, because we're not... the data that we need to monitor wasn't there before. We had a lot of disparate data.
So on what basis are you saying that things have got better?
Data, because we're seeing numbers coming down. And that's why, as one of our 6 high focal priority areas, we have data and digitalization. We've launched Nigeria Education Data Initiative, that we're now migrating all data, aggregating them together for now.
Right. So when is that data going to be ready?
We've engaged one of the top 5 consulting company in the world to help us to deploy that technology.
Right.
We are not joking with data, because without data, if you don't have data that you can validate, that you can even trust yourself and the international community can trust, you can plan.
Absolutely.
And then if you can't plan well, you can intervene well. And even when you intervene, how do you monitor the outcomes of your interventions? And that's why data is a big part of what we're doing. And I will report to you by July. We should have the first dashboard.
Yeah, but I wonder why it's taken so long. I mean, you've been in office for 2 years. Why has it taken so long to gather that data?
No, we have data. Right now, we have data.
Right.
But those data, as I told you, they are very disparate. We're now, in the last 8 months, we're aggregating those data now as we speak. We've gotten 13 million data set, millions live data set from UBEC. We're also getting data from NYSC. We're getting data from JAMB. We're getting data from WAHEC. We're getting data from NECO. So we're aggregating those data now, then we'll see that and disaggregate and see where we're going. And let me tell you, by the time we're done with a NEDI, Nigeria Education Data Initiative, we would be able to monitor every child's journey from pre-primary phase of the education to their primary school, junior secondary school, senior secondary school, and to tertiary institutions. And as we see kids dropping out of school, we will pick them up in almost real time, look at what's causing them to drop out of school, and then intervene. So, because if we don't become so aggressive in our actions in way to tackle this menace of high out of school children, we would not, because more people will feel they'll feel the bottle. As we're moving people out, more people will come in. So we really have to be very clear, decisive, longitudinal in how we tackle this problem. And I'll tell you what we've done to tackle this menace of out of school children at Amajiri. We now have a high interministerial committee that is being chaired by myself and my colleague. We've taken off the silos, the fragmentation in the system that we had before. Every single agency of government within the Federal Ministry of Education that has to deal with out-of-school children, we're working together now, from UBEC to National Nomadic Education Commission to National Mass Literacy Commission to our Department of Basic Education Commission and the Amajiri and Out-of-School Commission. We're lucky today now we have the Amajiri and Out-of-School Commission. The law that set this commission up was carefully curated. This commission, it's not only about policy making, it actually can implement. So we've mapped out the various out-of-school, the various schools that were built for out-of-school children before. We're rehabilitating those schools now so we can move students into those schools. And before we even get there, we've done a lot of advocacy work in convincing, going to talk to mothers why they need to send their kids to school. So the advocacy has been done, and we've piloted a model in FCT just a few months ago. We moved almost 22,000 students out of school. So that's number one. Advocacy, we're working with Humanitarian Affairs Ministry. Myself and the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs we're now best friends. We're talking about how do we, in a coordinated manner for a change. We have a one government approach now. How do we deploy a school feeding program where we can use it to do several things. Encourage mothers to send their kids to school, and as we're doing that, give these kids highly nutritious food that will help with their brain development, improve their immunity, decrease their vulnerability to having infection. Now, as we give them this school nutrition, school feeding program, how do we now use it to ensure that we monitor attendance?
Well, that's a plan at the moment. You're not actually implementing.
No, we are going to be. We have budgetary allocation for that, and this is 2025 budget. And we're also working on conditional cash transfer that we will use to incentivize this mother to ensure that they bring their school to school, they meet certain threshold. Charles, please look at that.
No, I understand what you're saying.
But that have happened decades with nobody fixing them.
I agree with you 100%.
President Bola made, since he took over about 2 years ago, we've been very directional, very focused on how we're fixing these problems. And and just not fixing them superficially. We're building base in a way that it will be sustainable solutions.
Well, the reason I wanted to
will have sustainability.
Right.
Government that will come 6-7 years after us will not meet the mess that we met.
I understand that. The reason I wanted to come in there is that you're talking about things like, school meals and nutrition and sort of making their brains function better, when in fact a lot of the classrooms are completely dilapidated. I mean, there are so many places where there's hardly any classroom. I mean, the learning conditions are so absolutely dire that for many of these kids, I mean, that condition alone, it doesn't matter what you feed them, makes it impossible for them to learn. You've got to be in an appropriate learning environment in order to learn, don't
Absolutely. You? Learning environment is extremely important, and we've done a lot, and there's still more to be done. But in these last several months, we've rehabilitated 3,000 schools. We have plans between now and 2027.
And where are those schools?
I can give you the number.
Across Nigeria?
Across Nigeria. We have clear plans now. Between now and 2027, we will rehabilitate or build 197,000 classrooms. We've done all the mappings. Beyond that, we will provide almost 200,000 watch facilities to help improve the confidence of our children as they learn. And as we do that, we've rejigged the way we deliver education materials to our children. We're using track and trace technology that will ensure from the publishers of those books, it will get delivered to the last mile, and the last mile are those classrooms. We're doing that. We're deploying more digital. We're deploying more technology to support these schools.
Right.
Digital learning for our schools.
And the curriculum.
And of course, the curriculum, we've gone beyond. Today, curriculum should not be static. Curriculum should be versatile and dynamic. We have changed the curriculum of our foundational level of schools, primary schools, and junior secondary schools. We're finalizing the teacher professional training of those curriculums. That will be done in the next few weeks. The new curriculum in a primary school and junior secondary school will be deployed this September. We're already working on the secondary school curriculum now. That will be deployed next year. So we've improved the curriculum, we've added skills, we've added more digital literacy to those to the new curriculum. We've also added Nigerian history to the curriculum, things that was taken out before. And to my imagination, I don't know who decided to take Nigerian history out of our curriculum. So we're done with curriculum, and also what we're doing now. We're talking to AI companies that we will use AI to support our teachers in the way they do their lesson plans and in the way they use curriculum to educate our teachers. And as you say this, we're also paying a huge attention on our teacher professional development, because if you don't train the teachers well, they won't be able to train your kids well.
Absolutely.
And we realize that we have to ensure the competency of our teachers. We're moving their teacher professional development online, and the content are being developed, they're being finalized now. By the time, hopefully in the next few months, we'll launch that site where our teachers will go, They will do their teacher professional development, and after completing a certain module, they will do short questions. Once they pass, we will incentivize them for improving themselves. And guess what? If you improve the quality of your teachers, what do you get? You get kids that you get high quality education. What does high quality education mean? Means kids, they are better critical thinkers. They can navigate this world better. They feel life skills. They will have better life skills, life capacity to navigate their life journey. They will have high ability to problem solve. They will make better decisions. They contribute more meaningfully to the society.
Yeah, but those things are theoretical.
They're not theoretical.
What I mean is they're theoretical until you've implemented the things you're talking about.
We're in full implementation.
Well, let me ask you this.
These are not theoretical. These are things that are already been implemented.
Okay.
And we're already seeing early results.
Well, let me ask you this. Last year, you unveiled a 4-year plan to overhaul education across Nigeria. Presumably, that's part of what you're talking to us about now. You set a target to reduce the number of out-of-school children by 25% annually. Where do things stand at the moment?
Yeah, I think we're on course with those targets, and we're on course.
But you don't have the statistics.
That's what I know. I won't come here and tell you something that is not a fact. We don't have the data,
right.
And that's why one of our 6 high priority areas it's data and digitalization, and we've moved so quickly, like no government has ever done.
So when is that data going to be available?
I'm telling you, the first dashboard will be deployed in the next few months, probably by August. We're working.
Let's move on from that, because you've already said that. So in the interest of time, what about security in schools? I mean, what are you doing, or what have you done to reduce things like abductions and so on? Because, the fact that those abductions are not necessarily in the headlines doesn't mean they're not happening.
And I'll tell you, I'm the chief education officer of the country now. No abduction has happened in our school in the last 12 months. At least I can tell you the last 12 months. No kidnapping in any of our schools.
Yeah, but what did you do to make that not happen?
No, look at it. This is not coincidence.
Right.
It's clear, focused government policy. Policy of President Bola, part of policies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The president has spent so much on security, like no government has done in the last 20 years. They're using both kinetic and non-kinetic strategies. I'll leave the further detail to the NSA to discuss about. But what we've done to make our schools safer, we have the Safe School Initiative that is in place. We have a central command here in Abuja that's being manned by the National Civil Defense Corps. Our schools are connected into those centers. They know what's happening. They know what is happening in all our schools. We also now we got budget to even build security towers at our schools. We're now coordinating more with the Departments of State Security Service, with NSA office, even with the military and the police. We have better coordination, and we also have a ministerial team that we've set up that are monitoring things. And just a few days ago, I wrote letters to our subnational government, because part of our agenda to reform and transform the education system in this country, is to work very closely with our subnational government. We're talking more to our governors. The governors care. They want the best for the kids in their states. So we're talking in more alignment with them. I just sent a letter to them what they need to do, that each state now should please set up a safe school department, where that unit of department will be headed by at least a deputy director level, so that we can better coordinate. We have a safe school pathway that FCDO worked with the Federal Ministry of Education to develop. We're sending that to them, that each state should look at that safe school pathway, make changes the way they want to suit the peculiarities of their state. So these are things, we're doing things in a concrete manner together, so that we can maintain the security, the safety of every child that goes to that school.
Right. Well, in fairness to you,
it is our responsibility as a government, and we're not going to shirk. We're not shirking
in
that
fairness
responsibility.
to you, that there has not been a headline-grabbing abduction, not the kind of things we saw in Dapchi or Chibok and all the rest of it. Although there are people who say that some of those things are in fact taking place, that they're just not making the headline because they're not as big.
Let me tell you
But we're almost out of time, so I need to ask you this question very
I thought we were here for 1 hour.
No, we're here for 30 minutes.
Are you serious?
Yes, because we're going to talk about another aspect of your government, which is the debt problem. Let's talk briefly about the JAMB exam. I mean, after nearly 2 million students studied for so long, come the day of the exam, the system crashed. There were power cuts, login failures. So many students were unable to finish their tests, and just 1 in 5 of them passed. I mean, a 19-year-old girl who was took the exam, and got her results all sort of topsy-turvy, took her own life. People want answers. Why did this happen, and what does that say about the education that you're talking about, that you're fixing so well?
Charles, with all due respect to you,
yeah,
I will not sit with you here on a national TV, where even international channel that we have millions, tens of millions of people watching us. Everything you've said about JAMB, totally untrue. Absolute false. And I'll tell you, JAMB, there were no power glitches, there were no login problems. The exams worked seamlessly. I went and inspected these exams. The CBTs, remember, these CBT centers are commercially owned. JAMB pays those CBT centers per student. So they have generator, constant power, constant power, cooling system. Those CBT centers are very comfortable. Each CBT center was vetted by JAMB. They have their team that will go, that went and accredited those CBT centers. The problem I thought you were going to talk about was a glitch that happened.
Yeah, it is a series of glitches.
It's not operational problems. It's not operational problems in the processes of doing the exams. The processes from when the student got enrolled to the time they went from the verification to go to the exam or the CBT or worked seamlessly, almost to perfection. Let me tell you what happened. The glitch that happened in any system, it would happen. This is technology. It's not hacking. It's not. What happened was that it's CBT. If you look at the technology behind CBTs, you have, say, for chemistry, you might have like 10,000 question banks, so that for the sanctity of the exams, so that they don't, to eliminate fraud. The person sitting next to you and me sitting here, we're doing the same different questions. The question rotates. They rotate, so that to prevent, for those are inbuilt security measure. Now, when JAMB did their patch, they were doing their internal control measure before the exams. They found out that some centers in the east and Lagos, that they've divided the country into CAD and LAG, and they had states under those two categories. So some of those, Lagos and in some states, some centers in the east, the questions were not rotating. They were just static. And they felt that it wasn't fair. That if you now have the person sitting here and the person sitting there doing the same question, they could be cheating. And then you've put the other people that had the standardized way of doing the exam into on an even part. So they called their service provider. The service provider came, they realized the problem, they put their patch. Now, what JAMB now did, they saw the question rotating, but there was problem of question matching to answers. They didn't realize that at that point. Now, the exam went well. Their minimum standard was maintained. They're based on all the internal control measures that they have put in place. Now, just after the exam, before the public outcry, let's give JAMB some credibility here. Let's acknowledge the work that the JAMB registrar and his team have done in ensuring that we have CBT exam that is almost better, almost at par with the best CBT exam processes, exam process in the world. Now, they looked at immediately after the JAMB exams were completed, the various for the various days, they looked at their own internal report. They already have their grading. States that are high performing states, medium performing states, and low performing states. They saw that several of the states that are high performing, Lagos, some other states in the east, the percentage dropped. They already identified the problem. There's a problem here. And that's part of internal control. Immediate post-exams analysis. They looked at that, high performing, they know we have a problem here. They started their own diagnostic immediately, even before the public knew. And I'll tell you, 2 days after the exam, a family member called me and said, "Honorable Minister, I send my kids to private school, me and my friends in Lagos. Our kids do not cheat. They went to these good schools, they can't fail." And she was very more graphic and said, "In my kids' school, there's this twin girl. They're there. One of them did an exam on Thursday. She got 300. The second one did the exam on Friday, got 163. I immediately knew that we had issue. I said, wait. This was about 10 p.m. at night. I said, wait. I connected the JAMB registry. I said, listen, you need to hear what this parent is telling me. And the JAMB said, Honorable Minister, we already found that problem. That is already assembling expansive subject matter experts on every area of CBT exams. Right. And I said, okay, talk to this parent more. They talked, I got off the phone, they talked more. By the second day, they did all the analysis. The JAMB register was reporting to me almost hourly as things were going on. They found the problems. And the exact problem that I told you was what they found. They now realized that, okay, we need to do these exams. It impacted about 300,000 students by two or 3 days after. After those students, they redid the exams. The results are out today. Now, what the outcry after JAMB was that, only 22% of students that took the exam got above 200. That's the issue we need to discuss.
Right. Okay.
Why are students performing so poorly in JAMB? And I'll tell you, major point of that was because of the fraud that happened in WAEC and NECO. And these kids are cheating, they're cheating through WAEC and NECO, and when they get to do JAMB, that is more exam that is so well protected, well done with CBT by international standard, they struggled. Okay. But now I'll tell you, today
Minister,
I'm working with WAEC and JAMB.
I went today. You've got about 30 seconds to summarize.
And I'm happy to report today to you now. WAEC is already piloting CBT. I went to look at an exam center today. CBT was being done in English. I asked the students, do you prefer this to pencil and paper? They said, Honorable Minister, please don't let us do pencil and paper again. We like CBT. Right. So WAEC and NECO will migrate to CBT by November of this year. We have to protect the time.
So your overall message then is that the Tinubu administration has been demonstrating practically its commitment to the improvement of education.
Absolutely.
That's a summary.
Absolutely.
Minister, I want to thank you very much indeed. I don't know if you were told it was an hour, it's half an hour, but I think you've made the points very robustly, and we thank you very much indeed for coming in. Dr. Tunji Alausa is the Minister of Education. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.